What's up, everybody? CP and SJ with you again for another week of picks here on Every Day We're Covering. We're into week 10 of the college football season, and we'll deliver our picks here for this week. Hopefully, have some good ones. It's Beggars Night as we record this here, SJ, and hopefully, we're not begging for any victories here over the weekend. Let's just get some cool, hard, easy covers.
Yeah, we don't need any of those, pennies or pencils like they used to give you when you were a kid. And you're like, what the hell? Just give me the damn candy. So we don't we don't need any of that. We just want that. I guess we'll take some money, maybe the paper version,
Yeah.
but we don't want any of those pennies or any of that loose change. We're gonna try to hit some big ones this week.
Yeah. Hopefully have some fun with it. There's a pretty good slate, I think, of games here to watch as well. So entertainment value wise, it's going to be a good weekend. We're going to go back and forth here. I'll kick things off here. I'm going to roll with a team that you got me on with last week because we actually diverged on a pick, and I went against this squad, and they proved me wrong and you right. And they're getting a big number here this week against a team that, yeah, I think is pretty good, but they've played a lot of really close games. So I just don't see how this is going to shake out. Duke is getting 20 points on the road at Miami. I realize Miami coming off a nice, kind of rivalry win or whatever, but it's against a team that's, pretty much been a turd this season. So not all that impressive to me. And Duke is played well in some of those tough games. I mean, they took, SMU to the wire there. And like I said before, the other games Miami's played, it's come down to almost last possession every time. So getting 20 points, sign me up. I'm going to take the Blue Devils.
Yeah, I mean, you think you'd be able to stay within that number. You're not like, asking for the outright win. So yeah, that seems like a good pick. And I'm right there with you. I just, it's hard pulling that trigger 2 weeks on a team. You feel like you're getting a little bit over your skis there and not trying to do too much with one squad. So I'm pulling for that to come out too. I just couldn't make that play myself. I'll kind of go with another underdog here. Not as big of a number, but a team that we were talking, beforehand. It's like, what do you got to do to get some respect? Like the Rodney Dangerfield, I guess, of the NCAA's this year is Vanderbilt. Man, they obviously knocked off Alabama, gave Texas a decent run. Even beat a Kentucky team that was thought of well at that time, and have played pretty well all season. And they're coming as an underdog. I know it's on the road at Auburn, but what has Auburn done this year was basically my thought. I don't remember too much of note. So we'll take that 6.5 points and we'll go ahead and ring that up. If you want to get a little bit froggy there, go ahead and take that money line. I would not be surprised to see Vanderbilt win this, but we'll just go ahead with the 6.5 for the official play here on the show.
Yeah, love that one as well. Had that on my list, and I will likely play that also. I just feel like you said, what do you got to do to get a little get a little love around here? The only thing that it does cause some little hesitation is the times that they have been a little bit questionable this year. It's been on the road. They don't play as well on the road, but they've got the players. They've proven that they've played up against the big dogs multiple times and played very well. So really like what they can do out there. I'm going to go over to the Big Ten. This will be a new place, I guess, for this team to go. The Oregon Ducks on the road at Michigan. Laying 14.5 points is what I'm seeing here right now. I know that's kind of a big number, and I know that's a tough place to make that happen. But I really do think that, Oregon's just the much better team here. Michigan's not going to be able to keep pace. The Oregon's a team that can put up points, and they've shown they've started to get that offense really cooking now here these last few weeks. And I think if they get up, it's just going to snowball, and they'll be able to cover that number. Don't love the hook, but still, I think they get it done.
Yeah, even against the best competition they played this year, no one has seemed to have been able to hold that Oregon offensive attack in check. Ohio State, even the Boise State team we like, still putting up over a 30 spot. I don't see Michigan keeping pace with that. And we thought maybe they've kind of maybe found something here to, right the ship, but Illinois kind of crapped on all that basically to sum it up, just a total beatdown. So I think coming off that, I the same game, I do have a different play though. I'm going to take the overs in this on the strength of Oregon putting up a 30 something spot at least. Shoot, it's a 45 point total. They might put up 40 themselves. I could seriously. I mean, it sounds weird to say it being at Michigan, but I could see a 40 to 41-17. a 40-21 type of win very easily, just because once the Ducks get rolling, it's really hard to slow them down when you can't keep pace. I mean, who's that quarterback this week? For a Michigan team, like they just don't have any type of semblance of an offense that's going to keep pace with them, and their defense isn't anywhere near what you would think is going to shut down the high-powered of attack that Oregon has.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to play it. Certainly, just aside from, like I said, I think Oregon the better team, but yeah, that's probably pretty safe that they're going to be able to put up some numbers in that game. So I like that too. I'm going to go back to a team that kind of took one on the chin last week, and I just feel like this is a bounce back here. Navy did not put their best foot forward out on the field against Notre Dame, kind of, didn't show up for the limelight contest there. Made a lot of mistakes. A lot of that stuff was self-inflicted on them, just turning the ball over as much as they did. And now they're going to go play a team that I don't think is very good at all. They go on the road to play Rice, and they're only laying 11. They beat up on other teams pretty well up until that Notre Dame point. I think this is a nice bounce back for the midshipmen, and I think they cover that.
I'm going to go with a Big 12 special here. It seems like maybe, to when they had 12 teams, seems like this would be the type of game that might play out here. And that's your guys taking on Texas Tech there. You got a home contest, 55.5. It's a little higher than I was hoping. I was hoping maybe to get like a 50, maybe even like a 52. But I mean, I still think it's going to be a back and forth deal, even if, we like to, be a little bit more confident and not have to go to the very end. But if it's a 14-14 halftime score, don't worry, we'll be okay. At some point, it's gonna get, that scoreboard's gonna get lit up, and I think, I'm not sure who's gonna win. I definitely would favor Iowa State, of course. Could be kind of a crazy ending here. I could see it going down to kind of who has the ball last, similar to when they played Central Florida. I could, kind of be in a game like that, just maybe some more points scored. But I'll take the overs in this one. Definitely would think Iowa State would remain undefeated, but just going to go ahead and take those points with these offensive. It's going to be definitely a track meet. I don't see any other way around it. Of course, you know how that goes when we think one way, but I do think all signs point to a hell of a ending here and a down to the wire type of game.
Yeah, I think that's a good play. I mean, Tech coming off a game last week where there was a lot of points put up with them back and forth with TCU, and yeah, that's what they've been good at, is the offensive side. And I think where Iowa State's weakness is at the moment, they probably have looked at that a little bit because we're playing a lot of young people in that middle of the defense, and if they can find some of that short passing game that they love traditionally, that does bode well for them to be able to score a little bit. And I like Iowa State's chances to put up a lot of points on their defense too. So that's probably a good play.
Well, and this could be a type of game too, where a team gets up by two touchdowns, maybe even three scores, and and the other team can come back. Just so even if Iowa State blows them out, they could come back at the end and kind of get that late cover, because I could see it being a blowout too, Iowa State's way, that is. But Tech's not going to go away. They always get those late touchdowns there. I mean, I don't have, I'll get you some numbers by the time we do the pot on Sunday, but they just seem like a team that's always like, they get those like, 2 or 3 late scores out of nowhere, when it's like, why didn't you do that the whole game? If it's a team you pick, but we don't care if they win. We just want to get a lot of points this week.
Yeah. I'm gonna move on to a team. Well, I guess you talked about my squad. I'm gonna go with yours. I'm gonna go with Nebraska. I think they're only laying less than a touchdown. I got it at 6.5 against UCLA. UCLA has not been good, and I'm not impressed with anything that they're doing, whether it be coaching or playing or whatever they got going on there. And then, of course, Nebraska, obviously impressed some people last week, but went on the road and into the shoe and gave Ohio State one hell of a run and proved that they can bounce back from a bad week. So I think going back home, that they're going to be a little bit more comfortable again. Should be a great crowd just because of the name that you're playing there, not necessarily because of the team. And I think Nebraska at least wins by a score. So I'm gonna go with them.
Yeah, hearing a little bit more of the talk of this game, obviously, just kind of paying attention to this to some of the preamble to things. It's the perspective's always kind of funny because the people that are a little worried about picking Nebraska, which I don't mind it because it's like, well, their offense has struggled at times, so I get that, and even the defense had a couple of turds they've put out there this year. But it's like, well, UCLA is 2-5 or whatever, but they've played some good teams, lost some good teams, but. Yeah, so that's what we're going with. We're worried about a team that's lost close games, but we don't want to pick somebody that's actually won some close games or played some good competition. So that to me, I'm with you. Like, I mean, we don't like to pick our teams. Just that's just kind of it's not an unbreakable rule. We could do it if we like something we like, but just in general, try not to. But I think that's a good pick. My next one, I'm gonna go with Pitt, a team that's played really well this season, obviously, and they come in as an underdog, which is a bit surprising to me. I mean, I get that SMU's had another a good season in their own right, but getting 7.5 points as what they've kind of done here within their conference, I was a little surprised at that. So that was kind of one that if same thing with the Vandy that I mentioned, if you are feeling like really maximizing your value there, this wouldn't be a bad one either to kind of take them to win outright straight up, get that money line on there. But we'll go ahead and take 7.5. You're giving us that many points. Why wouldn't we? I think that's a hell of a good number there on a game that I could see maybe Pitt grinding one out there. I know SMU's kind of at times at least been pretty prolific offensively, but I think Pitt's kind of one of those teams that's there's still, I guess, that we're not sure exactly what they are, and this could be that chance to show that they're I don't know, maybe playoff worthy on the outside, maybe that 10th, 11th, 12th type team.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Pitt last week. The way that they just came out and blew out Syracuse. They really look good. Yeah, they're playing good at the right time of the season. They kind of just built themselves up over the year, and yeah, getting a touchdown over a touchdown. I do like that in that game. I think that's going to be a close one, coming down to the wire. Really. My last official play here. I'm going to go with a team that's hot. And sometimes that's a good thing to do. Sometimes it's not. But I don't know. I feel like this Texas A&M team is also finding their footing and figuring some things out. And now they know they're in the mix of the SEC race. Whereas after that first week there, against Notre Dame, you weren't really sure where it was going to go. So I think that they have gotten things squared away. Really impressed with the way that they beat LSU. I just think they're on a roll. They go to South Carolina, which can be a tricky place sometimes, but South Carolina, since the early part of the season, it's kind of tapered themselves off a little bit. And A&M only laying 3, so I'm going to go Texas A&M to cover that 3 on the road.
Maybe I guess my most risky pick, if you want to look number wise, I don't find it to be that risky, but I'm going to take a big number with Georgia 16.5 point home, I guess, whatever you want to call it. They're the home team in this outdoor party, whatever you want to call it these days. I don't know I don't know if they're still able to say that, or and also I guess it's moving venues and with some construction going on at the stadium here next couple of years, and I guess the smart Alex online will say, oh, if only these teams had a home stadium so they could maybe do a home and home. Like, yeah, that would be good. But I think the neutral sites are kind of cool when you can do them if it makes sense, and it does kind of make sense because it's at least a lot of times it's like a neutral site game and it's like a team from freaking Washington and a team from Florida playing in Detroit. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's kind of middle-ish. I do like that because it gives fans that maybe can't get to their home stadiums or in a different region that are still fans of those teams, gives them a chance to check out the game. So I think that's kind of cool about this, but I don't think the game's very much to watch. It'll just be one of those we're only watching to cover that number. It's not going to be very intriguing. Florida's just been god awful. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe after this one it's the head coach finally gets relieved of his duties, because all signs point to that anyways. So that could be, this could kind of be especially being with your, a big rival, to get embarrassed, it could be a 20+ point loss easily. That's kind of the time that the boosters and just the people that with the financial wherewithal will kind of put their foot down and say, we're done with this, enough of this. So I think that could maybe happen this week, and it's not going to be worth watching unless you're a Georgia fan and just, feel like, want to watch the Florida get the hell beat out of them.
Yeah, I don't hate that play either. I think that's probably a good look. Florida, it does seem to have gained a little bit of traction here these last few weeks. They haven't been quite as crappy as they were to start the season, but yeah, this doesn't look like a
I
good
mean,
setup here.
outside of an act of God, I don't see how it's going to be. I mean, maybe they'll hang for a quarter. It's just that it's gonna it just the talent wise is there's no way you can see it playing out for 4 quarters.
And the neutral site thing too, which I just wanted to mention something there. I can see it from the fans, like if you're like a dedicated season ticket holder person, you don't love that because then you lose the opportunity to have another home game. But in this scenario, like you said, where you are pretty close in proximity, and then I bet the coaching staffs kind of love it too. I mean, it gives you an opportunity to play a tougher game in a different type of atmosphere that you're probably going to play in come into the season if you're doing what you want to do. Gives it more of that playoff type feel. So I'm sure the coaches don't hate that.
Well, and even from the recruiting aspect of it too, you get to maybe a region where some of the kids might not be able to play. Let's say you play an 11 a.m. game and they can't get all the way to your campus, but maybe they can drive an hour or two to Jacksonville, in this case where the game is, and they're able to host some recruits still and things like that. So yeah, it's just, I mean, a little different environment, different aspect, and obviously it's always like a hell of a party. That's why they call it what they used to call it. So why not? I mean, there's a reason that they host it there and why it's gotten kind of the recognition that it has. So I keep it going as long as you can. We don't have many, at least like legitimate, these traditions. So keep as many going as you can.
Well, hopefully all the cocktails stay in the parking lot and in the stands instead of on the field here.
Yeah, that's these days. Maybe some. I'm not. No joke. Speaking of Vanderbilt earlier, there was the story about them putting some netting up in the Texas fan section. Last week. I don't know if we end up touching on that, but that could be more of a commonplace thing and seems ridiculous. But I mean, even the World Series, those Yankees fans
Yeah.
had to go ahead and get involved as well. It's just every time you turn around, it's like you're worried about sports betting, but it needs more worried about these freaking ass clowns buying the tickets. So that you should really be focused on.
No kidding. One other game I did want to throw out there, and I guess I'll mention a couple quick ones. I kind of like Memphis. They're laying 7 on the road at UTSA. UTSA has been a shell of them former selves after they lost, their good stud players. Memphis still has let me down a couple of times, so I'm not like that's why I didn't want to go official play here, but I still take a peek at that just because I think they are the much better team in that matchup. And then I kind of like Toledo as well. They've also let me down a couple times, but laying 9.5 at Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan coming off a loss to Akron that I didn't expect. So I think Toledo probably gets to cover that number. Might be close, but that's another one I'll take a peek at here this weekend.
Yeah, a couple of underdogs I like on my size. I mean, with probably, you want to take the points. They're both getting a decent sized number with Kentucky. I think it's 17.5 against Tennessee. And then Michigan State, I believe they're about a 7 or 8 point underdog as right now against Indiana. And they've got the home game there, Michigan State, 2:30 on the Peacock. And we know what happens on those apps and those streaming services. And without fail, something wacky happens. And the thing is, if Indiana goes down or is in trouble or loses, best believe these other teams are going to run the hell out of that score up just because of the way that coach has been, kind of just his comments, how he's kind of been portraying himself in his program. Anybody that gets the chance to bury them is going to do it times 10. So if they get ahead, it's going to be ugly. So even both, I'm definitely not underdog for Kentucky. Take the points on that one. But with Michigan State, I could see them pulling it out. But let's be safe maybe and just take those 8 points because that's a pretty healthy number. Even if they end up losing, stay within a touchdown seems a reasonable ask.
Yeah, it is quite a few points there. So a lot great stuff coming up here over the weekend with these games. I know that, of course, we've been putting out some other random stuff here and there that for you. So make sure you're locked into the social media channels there, and of course, especially Twitter, where we do most of this, and what seems where most of the sports gambling world kind of resides, anyways. At Cherokee CP, at SJM Bets, you see the handles there on the screen. So give us a shout if there's something you like that you want to play here this weekend, or if you have some just fun comments on games, funny things you see, or if you got a beverage recommendation, we'll take that too. So we hope that you interact with us a little bit on that front. Of course, if you would like subscribe and get the notifications here on the YouTube channel so you get these picks each and every week. And then, of course, lock into the podcast each and every week as well. Every day we're covering comes at you usually either late Sunday night or early Monday morning, and available on all the major platforms, including here on YouTube. And then our main host is on over at Spotify. So we would appreciate if you check out the program. By the way, with the whole Beggars Night scenario, I did put together a little clip with my son, who was dressed up as Mike Myers / Ashton Genty here over the holiday, and got a little love from the Boise State football program. So shout out Broncos, appreciate that, and I'm sure a lot of folks were having fun with that whole scenario, especially probably in that part of the country.
And last word on the candy deal, man. And paydays, that's like you take the plus money on that every time. You need to get more of those out there. And then also Kit Kat greater than Reese's. That's my last word on the candy thing, at least in my world. So that's how I'm rolling. Yeah,
bold. I'm always big plus money on the 100 grand bars too.
You can't go. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Those suckers in the freezer, and the next day you're a new man.
Cash money. Hopefully we're pulling in somebody's pulling in something probably not near 100 grand, but we're pulling in some cash here over the weekend.
We hope you win that much, but don't bet that much, please.
Yeah, please do not do that. All right, that's what we have for you here this week on Every Day We're Covering. Again, make sure you're locked into all the different locations that you can catch the programming, and we hope you have some fun playing and watching some college football here this upcoming weekend. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for another week of picks here on Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.